The chapter began with Hae-In standing up and asking Jinwoo when the entrance exam he mentioned would take place. Jinwoo replied that it was happening today and asked if the location was okay, suggesting the gymnasium of the Hunters Association. Jinwoo suddenly realized that, thinking it over, the gymnasium was a bit far from their guild office. He also thought it would be a great opportunity to test whether he could use his shadow exchange skill with another person. As Hae-In was about to leave the room, Jinwoo quickly stopped her, saying they wouldn't go that way. Hae-In turned around, confused, and asked, "Sorry?" Jinwoo then assured her there was an easier way, and all she needed to do was stay close to him. He asked if that was okay and reached out to her, pulling her closer as he activated his shadow exchange skill. As the scene progressed, Hae-In was seen in Jinwoo's arms, her face filled with disbelief at the situation. Slowly, they were enveloped by shadows, and as they disappeared, Jinho arrived with food, saying they should eat first. But he was startled to find only Jinwoo's shadow orc, who promptly snatched the food from Jinho's hands and devoured it in one bite. The scene then shifted to the gymnasium, where Jinwoo and Hae-In had successfully arrived using his shadow exchange skill. Hae-In, still in disbelief, asked how it was even possible. Jinwoo thought to himself that he had suspected it all along, that his shadow exchange skill worked like a gate, and the fact that it allowed him to travel with another person proved it. The entrance would form below them, and the exit would appear at the designated destination, which was based on the location of his shadow soldiers. Despite the 3-hour cooldown, he thought it was crazy that the skill worked almost like a gate. Jinwoo also realized that, if he wanted to, he could travel to the other side of the world with it. While Hae-In was still stunned, Jinwoo remarked that they were about to begin. She then turned to him and suddenly remembered that she hadn't brought her weapon. Jinwoo jokingly asked if she meant the pickaxe. Hae-In blushed, recalling that Jinwoo had seen her bring a pickaxe before. She quickly clarified that it wasn't her weapon, to which Jinwoo smiled, admitting he was just teasing her. Hae-In, still embarrassed, assured him she would be fine, as there was a weapon she could borrow from the storage room. She scanned her card, and the door opened to reveal a large array of weapons. She explained that this gym was designed for hunters, so there were plenty of weapons available for training. Though they weren't the best, they were sufficient for what she needed. Hae-In picked out a long sword, saying she was ready. Jinwoo asked if she was sure about her choice, since she hadn't had much time to get used to it. Hae-In replied that it didn't matter what weapon she used, because in reality, magic beasts didn't care whether someone was fully prepared for battle or not. Jinwoo silently agreed with her assessment. He also realized that, based on her willingness to prove herself, if he summoned an ordinary soldier, she would tear it apart with ease. Jinwoo then called upon Igris, his best swordsman among his shadow soldiers. Hae-In asked how the winner would be decided, and Jinwoo replied that the battle would continue until she either destroyed his summoned beast or surrendered. Jinwoo was contemplating summoning his strongest soldier, Beru, but he hesitated, knowing that letting her fight Beru would be too traumatic for her. Meanwhile, Igris could be seen, ready for battle. Jinwoo decided it was time to begin. Hae-In, holding her sword, exuded a powerful aura. Jinwoo, suddenly realizing that she didn't care which weapon she used, asked Hae-In if she could turn around for a second. She agreed, and Jinwoo took the opportunity to pull out a sword from his inventory, which he then handed over to Igris. With everything in place, Jinwoo declared that the test could begin. Hae-In nodded in agreement, and the battle commenced. Igris, now armed with the Demon King's longsword, charged forward, swiftly unleashing a slash that created an explosion, accompanied by a violent thunderstorm. Hae-In dodged with ease. Seeing this, Jinwoo thought to himself that, just as he had expected, Hae-In was incredibly fast. If an ordinary person had been grazed by Igris, they would have died. Hae-In retaliated with her own slash, which Igris blocked with his sword. The scene shifted to Chairman Go's office, located near the gym. He sensed something unusual and looked toward the gym, wondering if anyone had reserved it for today. He immediately called his staff and instructed them to link the internal CCTV feed to his room. On his monitor, Chairman Go saw Jinwoo and Hae-In in the gym, and he was puzzled, wondering to himself, when did the two of them? He then recalled a conversation with Hae-In during the Jeju Island raid, when she had asked if Jinwoo had helped them. He remembered the smile on Hae-In's face when she learned that Jinwoo had arrived. Chairman Go realized that he had been slow to catch on. He smiled to himself and then instructed his staff to turn off all the security cameras in the gymnasium. When his staff questioned him, he simply said, "Just write today off as an inspection day." His staff quickly complied. Chairman Go leaned back in his chair, amused by the situation, but the force of the battle caused a flag displayed behind him to fall. He muttered, "Ah, youth." The scene then returned to the gym, where Jinwoo stood stunned, watching as Igris was defeated. Hae-In, still gripping her sword and exuding a powerful aura, turned to Jinwoo and asked, "Are you sure that Igris is your strongest?" She then insisted, urging Jinwoo to summon his strongest soldier. Jinwoo, now serious, warned her that she could get hurt, but Hae-In, undeterred, remained determined. "I don't care," she said with resolve. "I want a rematch anyway." Jinwoo, surprised, realized that Hae-In knew about Beru. She explained that she had seen the beast in person and had also watched the footage. Jinwoo didn't respond, but simply called Beru's name to summon him. Hae-In was ready, and the scene ended with Beru's shadow beginning to emerge. Jinwoo once again asked Hae-In if she was sure she wanted to continue, but she was undeterred. The powerful aura of Beru's shadow filled the room, signaling the beginning of the next phase of their battle. The chapter began with Jinwoo summoning Beru to fight against Hae-In. Jinwoo thought to himself that his extracted soldiers had become weaker compared to when they were alive. However, even with this, Beru was created for the purpose of killing hunters, and he was born to be a weapon. Jinwoo muttered, "If he goes all out against Hae-In, her chances of winning will be." He was interrupted when Beru, addressing Jinwoo as "my king," asked what he should do with this person. Jinwoo ordered Beru to defeat Hae-In, but to ensure she wasn't harmed. Beru immediately obeyed. A powerful roar erupted from Beru, causing the lights in the gymnasium to shatter. The shockwave reached Hae-In, who couldn't believe Jinwoo had actually fought this beast. Beru unsheathed his sharp claws, and Jinwoo quickly told him to put them away, warning that he wouldn't make his life easy if he hurt Hae-In. Beru complied, retracting his claws. Hae-In saw an opening in that moment and decided to act. Suddenly, Beru appeared behind her, which shocked Hae-In. She thought to herself that he had used the same move as during the Jeju Island raid. But unlike before, she had anticipated it and countered with a swift slash, exclaiming, "You think I'm going to fall for the same trick twice?" Despite Hae-In's efforts, Beru easily blocked and grabbed her sword attack with his hand, then quickly released it. In his mind, Beru understood that his king had given him a command to defeat Hae-In without causing any harm. He intended to show how strong he was, hoping it would break her will to fight. A simple task indeed, he thought. Hae-In launched multiple slashes, but Beru avoided each one effortlessly. She then attempted a quick stab, but once again, Beru dodged it. Hae-In, realizing how easily Beru was evading her attacks, became startled. She couldn't believe he was dodging her moves even without using his feet. Before she could react, Beru suddenly appeared right in front of her, unleashing a terrifying roar. The force of it pushed Hae-In back, and she barely managed to stop herself from being sent flying by stabbing her sword into the floor to anchor herself. Jinwoo, watching from the sidelines, concluded that the match's outcome had already been decided. He asked Hae-In if she was satisfied, to which Hae-In replied, "Not yet. I still have more fight left in me." Her determination was evident in her eyes as she locked her gaze with Jinwoo, still gripping her sword tightly. Jinwoo was taken aback by her answer. He hadn't expected Hae-In to be reckless enough to continue the fight, despite realizing the difference in their strength. Jinwoo reflected that Beru was different from his other shadow soldiers. While he possessed intellect, Beru was a killing machine at heart. Even now, Jinwoo could sense that Beru was suppressing his overwhelming desire to kill. Jinwoo hoped that Hae-In wasn't making the wrong call. After all, a single glance or an instinctive warning was enough for someone like Beru to recognize whether a person was prey or not. "How dare you?" Beru thought to himself, his predatory instincts kicking in. He believed the prey standing before him could not be tolerated. Without warning, he lunged at Hae-In, his claws outstretched. Hae-In managed to dodge the attack, but Beru's claws left deep slashes in the floor. She quickly dashed away, while Beru staring at her. She activated sword dance skill. Her stance changed, and a powerful aura surrounded her sword. Hae-In unleashed a flurry of rapid slashes. However, Beru easily grabbed her sword and crushed it effortlessly in front of her. Hae-In, realizing this was her only chance, activated her Sword of Light skill. Her sword, which Beru had crushed, now glowed with a piercing aura. With one swift strike, she stabbed Beru in the chest. Jinwoo, watching in shock, muttered, "No." For a brief moment, a quick command resurfaced in Beru's mind, a command given to him by his queen upon his birth. It was an instinct he couldn't suppress. The command was simple: annihilate the enemy. Beru's eyes turned red, and all that filled his mind was that the woman in front of him was his enemy. In a split second, he exploded in rage, extending his claws to attack Hae-In. Jinwoo screamed at Beru to stop, but it was too late. Beru's attack was already in motion. Hae-In braced herself, and in the next moment, a powerful explosion rang out. When the smoke cleared, it was revealed that Jinwoo had caught Beru's claw with his own hand, stopping the attack. Hae-In, now standing in front of Jinwoo, was stunned by what had just happened. Jinwoo looked at Beru with an expression of authority. "I told you to stop," he said coldly. He was holding Beru's claw in his hand and stepping on the other claw to restrain him. Hae-In, still in shock, sat down, overwhelmed by the events. Jinwoo turned to Hae-In and asked, "Are you okay?" Hae-In responded softly, "Yes." Meanwhile, Beru knelt before Jinwoo, begging for mercy. "My king, please have mercy." Jinwoo sighed deeply and then asked Hae-In, his voice laced with concern, "Why are you pushing yourself so hard? You don't need to go this far just to join our guild." Hae-In didn't answer immediately, but Jinwoo continued, "This is just a test. For a nameless guild, someone like you shouldn't risk your life over something like this. It's not worth it." Jinwoo repeated his question, "So why are you going to such lengths?" Hae-In bowed her head, remaining silent. Jinwoo asked again calmly, "Don't you have anything to say?" Jinwoo's thoughts turned inward as he wondered what Hae-In's true intentions were. Then, almost as an afterthought, he asked, "Are you, perhaps, interested in me?" Hae-In's eyes widened in shock when she heard this. She stammered, "What?" and she struggled to find words. When she didn't answer, Jinwoo couldn't make sense of her silence. But then, to his surprise, Hae-In softly spoke, "Yes, I think so." As the chapter ended, Hae-In looked at Jinwoo, her face flushed with a deep blush.